And now we're gonna have a little ladybug tell us part 8 of the Jungle Book.
Hello everyone! Happy Ramadan! They explored all the passages and dark tunnels in the palace and the hundreds of little dark rooms, but they never remembered what they had seen and what they had not. So drifted about in ones and twos or crowds telling each other that they were doing as men did. They drank at the tanks and made the water all muddy. And then they fought over it. And then they would all rush together in mobs and shout. There is no one in the jungle so wise and good and clever, strong and gentle as the Banderlog. Then all would begin again till they grew tired of the city and went back to the treetops, hoping the jungle people would notice them. Mowgli, who had been trained under the law of jungle, did not like or understand this kind of life. The monkeys dragged him into the cold lairs late in the afternoon, and instead of going to sleep as Mowgli would have done often after a long journey, they joined hands and danced about and sang their foolish songs. One of the monkeys made a speech and told his companions that Mowgli's capture marked a new thing in the history of the Banderlog. For Mowgli was going to show them how to weave sticks and canes. Together, as a protection against rain and cold, Mowgli picked up some creepers and began to work them in and out. And the monkeys tried to imitate, but in a very few minutes they lost interest and began to pull their friend's tail or jump up and down on all fours, coughing. I wish to eat, said Mowgli. I'm a stranger in this part of the jungle. Bring me food or give me leaves to hunt here. 20 or 30 monkeys bounded away to bring him nuts and wild pow-pows. But they fell to fighting on the road, and it was too much trouble to go back with what was left of the fruits. Mowgli was sore and angry, and as well as hungry, and he roamed through the empty city, giving the strangers hunting call from time to time, but no one answered him, and Mowgli felt that he had reached a very bad place indeed. All that Baloo had said about the Banderlog is true. He thought to himself, they have no law, no hunting call, and no leader. Nothing but foolish words, a little picking, thievish hands. So, if I'm starved or killed here, it will be all my own fault, but I must try to return to my own jungle. Baloo will surely beat me, but that is better than chasing silly rose leaves with the Banderlog. No sooner had he walked to the city wall than the monkeys pulled him back, telling him that he did not know how happy he was and pinching him to make him grateful. He set his teeth and said nothing, but went with the shouting monkeys to a terrace above the red sandstone reservoirs that were half full of rainwater. There was a ruined summer house of white marble in the center of the terrace, built for queens dead 100 years ago. The domed roof had half fallen in and blocked up the underground passage from the palace, but which the queens used to enter. But the walls were made of screens of marble tracery, beautiful milk white fretwork set with agates and cornelians and jasper and lapis lazuli. And as the moon came up behind the hill, it shone through the open work, casting shadows on the ground like black velvet embroidery. Sore, sleepy, and hungry as he was, Mowgli could not help laughing when the Bandarlog began, 20 at a time, to tell him how great and how wise and how strong and how gentle they were, and how foolish he was to wish to leave them. We are great, we are free, we are wonderful, we are the most wonderful people in all the jungle. We all say so, and so it must be true, they shouted. Now, as you are new listener and can carry our words back to the jungle, people, so that they may notice us in future. We will tell you all about our most excellent selves. Mowgli made no objection, and the monkeys gathered by hundreds and hundreds on the terrace to listen to their own speakers, singing the praises of the Bandarlog. And whenever a speaker stopped for want of breath, they would all shout together, "This is true!" We all say so. Mowgli nodded and blinked and said, "Yes." When they asked him a question and his head spun with a noise, "Tabaki, the jackal, must have beaten all these people," he said to himself, "and now they have madness. Certainly, this is Diwani, the madness. Do they never go to sleep? Now there is a cloud coming to cover, that moon. If it were only a big enough cloud, I might try to run away in the darkness, but I'm tired." That same cloud was being watched by two good friends in the ruined ditch below the city wall, for Bagheera and Kaa, knowing well how dangerous the monkey people were in large number, did not wish to run any risk. The monkeys never fight unless they are 100 to 1, and few in the jungle care for those odds. "I will go to West Wall," Kaa whispered, and came down swiftly with the slope of the ground in my favor. "They will now throw themselves upon my back in their hundreds, but—" "I know it," said Bagheera. "I wish that Baloo were here, but we must do what we can. When that cloud covers the moon, I shall go to the terrace. They hold some sort of council there over the boy." "Good hunting," said Kaa grimly, and glided away to the west wall. That happened to the least ruined of any, and Big Snake was delayed a while before he could find a way up the stone. The cloud hid the moon, and the Mowgli wondered what would come next. He heard Bagheera's light feet on the terrace. The black panther had raced up the slope almost without a sound and was shrinking. He knew better than to waste time in biting right and left among the monkeys, who were seated round Mowgli in circles, 50 and 60 and deep. There was a howl of the fright and rage, and then a Bagheera tripped on the rolling, kicking bodies beneath him. A monkey shouted, "There is only one here! Kill him! Kill him!" A scuffling mass of monkeys biting and scratching and tearing and pulling closed over Bagheera, while 5 or 6 laid hold of Mowgli, dragged him up the wall of the summer house and pushed him through the hole of the broken dome. A man-trained boy would have been badly bruised, for the fall was a good 15 feet, but Mowgli fell as Baloo had taught him to fall and landed on his feet. Woohoo! "Stay there," shouted the monkeys, "till we have killed your friends, and later we will play with you if the poison people leave you alive." "We be of one blood, ye and I," said Mowgli, quickly giving the snake's call. He could hear rustling and hissing in the rubbish all round him, and gave the call a second time to make sure. "Even so!" "Down hoods all," said half a dozen low voices. Every ruin in India becomes sooner or later a dwelling place of snakes, and the old summer houses was alive with cobras. "Stand still, little brother, for your feet may do us harm." Mowgli stood as quietly as he could, peering through the open work and listening to the furious din of the fight round the Black Panther, the yells and the chattering and scuffling, and Bagheera's deep, hoarse cough as he backed and bucked and twisted and plunged under the heaps of his enemies. For the first time since he was born, Bagheera was fighting for his life. Baloo must be at hand. Bagheera would not have come alone, Mowgli thought, and then he called aloud, "To the tank, Bagheera! Roll to the water tanks! Roll and plunge! Get to the water!" Bagheera heard, and the cry that told him Mowgli was safe gave him new courage. He worked his way desperately, inch by inch, straight for the reservoirs, halting in silence. Then, from the ruined wall nearest the jungle, rose up the rumbling shout of Baloo. The old bear had done his best, but he could not come before. "Bagheera," he shouted, "I'm here! I climb, I haste. Ahawara!" The stones slipped under my feet. "Wait my coming, oh most infamous bundlog!" He panted up the terrace, only to disappear to the head in a wave of monkeys, but he threw himself squarely on his haunches and, spreading out his 4 paws, hugged as many as he could hold, and then began to hit with a regular bat, 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 like the flipping strokes of a pedal wheel. A crash and a splash told Mowgli that Bagheera had fought his way to the tank where the monkeys could not follow. The panther lay gasping for breath, his head just out of the water, while the monkeys stood 3 deep on the red steps, dancing up and down with rage, ready to spring upon him from all sides if he came out to help Baloo. It was then that Bagheera lifted up his dripping chin and, in the despair, gave the snake's call for protection. "We be of one blood, ye and I!" For he believed that Kaa had turned tail at the last minute. Even Baloo, half smothered under the monkeys on the edge of the terrace, could not help chuckling as he heard the Black Panther asking for help. Kaa had only just worked his way over the west wall, landing with a wrench that dislodged a coping stone into the ditch. He had no intention of losing any advantage of the ground and coiled and uncoiled himself once or twice to be sure that every foot of his long body was in working order. All that while the fight with Baloo went on and the monkeys yelled in the tank round Bagheera and manned the bat, flying to and fro, carried the news of great battle over the jungle till even Hathi, the wild elephant, trumpet, and far away scattered bands of the monkey folk woke and came leaping along the tree roads to help their comrades in the coal layers, and the noise of the fight roused all the day birds for miles round. Then Kaa came straight, quickly and anxious to kill. The fighting strength of the python is in the driving blow of the head, backed by all the strength and weight of his body. That's all for now. End of part 8. Have fun. Stay blessed.